over the last couple of weeks, give guys a little bit of recovery time to try to get our health back. Injury updates, which I know you guys love. Felipe had his surgery this morning, went well. From the reports from all the doctors, everything went really well. So that's a really big positive. Everybody else, we got through the last game with no significant just bumps and bruises. Hopefully we get guys healthy by Friday to come back out and play. It'll be a couple game time decisions. I don't expect Kadarius Toney to be back this week. I think everybody else is going to be getting close to a game time decision of getting guys back healthy. So be guys who might not practice a lot this week, but it'll be game time decisions for us. Last week, obviously a big win. Anytime you get a win in a rivalry game at home was fantastic. Our fans did an amazing job. We need to have that same type of atmosphere this Saturday, to continue to make the Swamp the toughest place to play in college football for visiting teams, and that imposing, intimidating atmosphere that our fan base brings and makes our stadium play that way. So, what do you guys got?
As cliche as it sounds, you're a week away from a top 10 matchup. How do you keep the guys kind of focused this week? And is this almost a bigger test to stay focused this week than next week?
Well, the focus, the key to the game, the key to anything, we talked about our team, to the team this week. Obviously, there'll be a lot more hype on next week's game, national hype. It'll be the CBS game of the week. But for us to even have an opportunity to win that game, we have got to improve this week. It's one of those things. You look at the steps we took. I thought we took some really good steps. I thought we played a lot better against Tennessee than we had in the previous weeks. Okay, and that had a lot to do with because we practiced better that week. We took care a little bit. Our scout teams executed a little bit cleaner. Offensive and defense finished plays of practice a little bit better. Thought we did an amazing job with our Friday night and early Saturday morning quick. Even though it was a quick turnaround, the preparation going into the game of guys really honing in on their routine and getting ready to go perform on a Saturday. If we don't continue to take a step forward with that this week, it'll show. And it'll show not just this week, it'll show the next week and the week after that and the week after that and the week after that as you continue to move forward. So I think that's the message for the guys is you can't, we have great goals for this season for the team, and they all include continually improving from one week to the next. And that's got to be the focus. And, I'm focusing on what's important, right? What's important is, am I getting better as a player? Okay? I don't want to downplay this week's game or next week's game, because if you ask me that question next week and saying you're a week off from another top 10 matchup, this one on the road, is it harder to stay focused? No, it's on our exact attention to detail and our development and our improvement from one day to the next of getting better. And that's what we can control, and that's what we need to worry about. And if we're worried about other things, we're worried about the wrong thing, and we're not going to be able to accomplish the goals we have as a team.
Thomas.
Oh, go ahead, Cassie. She was ready for a follow-up, and you just...
Also, just while I had the mic, you mentioned before the season wanting to find that alpha dog. Have you found it yet?
We have guys that are getting better at it. I think we certainly do. I don't know there's just one, but you want to have guys that are alpha dogs and aren't afraid to stand up and talk to the team. And I think guys are getting more comfortable in that role. You know what I mean? And Nick Buchanan did a couple really nice things in the game, just, with making controls and decisions on the offensive line. I think our receiver position's full of it. Our receiver position is amazing in what they do and how they're doing. David Reese tries on defense, is getting better at being more vocal and standing up. I think John Grenard is doing better being vocal. I think now he's comfortable being, on the team, making plays and being in games, is a guy that's not afraid to jump up and talk to everybody. So I think there are guys growing into that role.
And I admittedly don't know a whole lot about Towson. Can you kind of break down what they look like on both sides of the ball?
Yeah. Well, it's they're a school in Maryland, near the Baltimore area. They're a very good football team, when you look at them. And, obviously playing one of the best conferences in their division. The Colonial Athletic Association, got a lot of great football teams. and a lot of depth. Probably, really similar to the probably SEC with the depth that their conference has of great football teams. They're a top 10 nationally ranked team, and when you look at them, very, very sound football team. Solid football team, back to front. They got a couple of guys that have transferred in, but really they're kind of a homegrown built team where they develop players, have a veteran group that's out there on the field with some older players. They, being a top 10 team, they know how to win. They expect to win, and you can see that on how they play and how they are in games. I know they lost a really tough game in overtime to Villanova this past week, who's another excellent team within their division and in their conference. So, it's not one of those where they're going to have like a one or two, like a transfer player that just, is different. But front to back and top to bottom, their roster is very solid within their players and how it's been built to be a championship and a top 10 level team within their division.
Dan, have you talked to Felipe since the surgery?
No. He would be like,
I didn't.
So
I didn't know at the time.
I could, but it really wouldn't make much difference because he wouldn't ever remember talking to me. So we'll wait till tonight when he's a little more coherent.
But how's he been doing mentally?
Great. He's really been good. He's really tried to, be as positive about it as he can be. Obviously, it's, something he's a very emotional person and something that's when that happens to you, but I think he's done a great job of saying, hey, this is what it is, and let's try to make the best out of the situation that I'm in.
And when you guys were coming up the ladder, when you were at Bowling Green, you played a couple like Big 12 kind of Big 10 environments.
Mm-hmm.
What did that mean for you all as a staff when you got those bigger opportunities? Kind of like what Towson's getting this week.
It was fun. With Bowling Green, we went undefeated in those situations, which was kind of cool. I think I think you look at it and you come in with a little bit of chip on your shoulder and and you view it as an unbelievable opportunity, to come in and say, hey, we're playing Towson. They're getting the opportunity to come play in the Swamp. I imagine, that's a pretty unique opportunity for these guys. They're not used to playing in these type of stadiums. And so the energy, the excitement, that you have, you kind of let it go. You got nothing to lose. Let's go, throw it all out there and have some fun while we do it. Makes you pretty loose and allows you to go play at a pretty high level.
Dan, in what areas did you see improvement this week?
Well, I think in every area, really our preparation was the biggest one. Our preparation into how we practiced, how we managed our walkthroughs, how we managed on leading into the game on Friday and Saturday. I thought those were probably the biggest improvement steps.
Hey, Dan, the run game sort of clicked a little bit in the fourth quarter, particularly with Emory Jones, I thought. Is he just more comfortable with those reads, or like what can you kind of put your finger on for the improvement?
I think one thing that he brings, the threat of him with the ball in his hand is a little bit different threat. Not that he would run more than Kyle, but I think I think he's a pretty dynamic runner in that way. But I think more of it was not just Emory being in the game. I think a little bit more of it was we played great defense. And the ability for us to play great defense allowed us to continue to be patient with the running game. I don't think there was a time during the game where we abandoned the running game. And I think when that happened, as the game wore on, it just started to wear them down, and all of a sudden the 2, 3, and 4 yard games became 7, 8, and 9 yard gains, and then the running game starts to click. And I think it was the patience in that. The fact that we had the lead and we were playing great defense allowed you to be patient with that and stick with it, and then it finally started to kind of wear them down in the fourth quarter.
A different subject, but with Jonathan Grenard, that's pretty difficult for a guy to just like come into a new team all of a sudden and emerge. You ever have a guy like that, or like anybody that he reminds you of?
Boy, I'm sure I have. Reggie Nelson was that way coming in here. He came in here to do that. I don't know, but I think part of it is if you look at John's personality, and he's a worker. You know, I mean, he's going to show up and he's going to go hard every single day. He goes hard at practice every day. He works hard in the weight room. So as the minute he's got on campus, he's looked and he's worked his tail off, right? So if you have that personality where you're going to go work, I think guys respect that on the team, you know. And then all of a sudden, all that work that he's done now starts translating him to having a lot of success on the field. Boy, guys respect that, and it also allows him to be a great leader and say, boy, if I work as hard as he is, look at the success he's having, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have success. Then I think on top of that, his personality now of saying, hey, I've worked my tail off. I've gone on, worked my tail off in the weight room and conditioning, worked my tail off at practice. I worked my tail off during the course of the game, and I've been successful on the field. I've earned the right to have a voice, and I'm confident in having a voice. Just because you have it right doesn't mean you are. But I think, you know, he's earned that, and I think he understands that he's earned that, and shown by example what he can do and how he plays. And I think a lot of our guys have now understand and feed off of that, and you know, respect that.
What's Kyle need to do to build on that performance, and is it good for both QBs to get maybe one more game
Okay, what did
here?
I missed? I lost you from the beginning. I'm sorry.
What does Kyle need to do to build on his performance?
Okay, there we go.
And is it good to get one more game in here before kind of the SEC onslaught you guys have coming up?
Yeah, well, I'll get a lot more games in, right? You always want to be prepared, but we have a tough schedule. We have, you know, I think 3 of our next 5 games are against top 6 teams or top 7 teams in the country. I don't know many people who have that sort of stretch going right now. But that's part of being in the Southeastern Conference, and that's what's fun to go play in. So I think Kyle just continue. I mean, he continue on the path that he's on. I think he, you know, hopefully this week, I think obviously everybody's seen within his preparation, he prepares the right way in getting into a game, and he's going to be ready for that moment. I think the biggest thing to build on is his experience, him being out there on the field in every situation, managing the clock, managing the play clock, making sure we're getting right to all the right checks, being comfortable on how he's using cadence to his advantage within his communication to the receivers and the offensive line, and decision making, when to I'm going to take a sack, I'm going to throw this away, this play's not there, I'm not going to try to make something happen that's not there. All of those things, those are a lot of experience things, and so the more experience you get, the better you're going to be.
What do you see of Joe Flacco's brother?
But they can put up numbers now. I mean, they are an explosive offense, and they do a good job. They mix up personnels, give you a bunch of different. They'll give you different looks, but they have yet to play a game this year where they haven't put up big numbers. So, they have. They run again. It is a group that understands their system, understands their offense, executes it extremely well, and they distribute the ball around, and they're a very, very good football team.
What stood out most to you from Amari Burney's return to the field on tape?
Well, it was great to get him back. I think everybody sees the athleticism that he has out there on the field, and he's a playmaker for our defense. Also see the position flexibility he has. We can move him to different spots. He has the size that he can play some linebacker, and he has the length, and he has certainly the speed to play safety and the star. So, he's that way that you can create mismatches on the defensive side of the ball. And it was, I think you see the playmaking ability that he has, that it was great to have that back on the defense this week.
Dan, Hevesey's talked about how he wants to have 7 or 8 guys he can really count on the O-line.
Yeah.
And you've started pretty much the same 5 for 4 ball games. What are the other 3 guys? Who are the other 3 guys that you think are in that rotation? And how do you
definitely
see
Richard Garage. He played as much as the other guys did on Saturday. I don't get into the starting. I get into total number of reps. Starting's the first play, and that's one play of the game. So that right now there's 6 that we feel really good about, and we're still working on getting younger guys developed and ready to go. We'll see. I think. Obviously you want that for depth and for purposes to be able to get through the year. Hopefully we're able to stay healthy, and that those guys aren't forced onto the field to be ready to go. But there's a bunch of guys that are fighting for those spots to get out there.
Getting back to something that was mentioned earlier, in the fourth quarters, of the last 2 ball games, you guys have really been able to push things. Is that just a matter, you think, of sticking with the running game and the offensive line finally gets into a rhythm, or is that just is it strength, conditioning? What do you think?
I think
that
it's a
is?
little bit of everything. I think it's obviously Nick Savage does a great job for our guys in strength and conditioning and making sure we're ready to play 4 quarters. I think it's the preparation of our players, making sure they hydrate, get their bodies right, and they're able to strain and give unbelievable effort for 4 quarters. I think our coaching staff does a really good job of making some in-game adjustments. The assistant coaches do to put guys in good position as the game moves on. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And, and then the confidence of our guys in the fourth quarter that they expect to make plays, when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter at crunch time. And so I think, when you combine all those factors, you're able to have some success.
What led to the uptick in snaps for Richard, and what did you see from him yesterday?
Well, one was that of trying to create and make sure we have that depth on the offensive line. And there's times we want to get guys in. John and I talk, we're not getting guys in enough. Richard's got flexibility. So, Richard, really, it gives you, when you put right now, you can put Richard on the field. You can actually create with those 6 guys, you can create several different combinations. So, one guy can replace 4 other guys, now he might not be able to go. He's not going to go play all 4 of those spots, but he can go replace those guys. And Richard's obviously done a really good job. Very talented young player for us that I think has a great future. And it's something we really wanted. I wanted to get him going, get him out there on the field, and get him playing for us.
And kind of a different subject, but since the Vanderbilt game last year, it was I think guys the percentages of 4th down tries have really gone up for you guys. Is that something that you looked at statistically that said to yourself, then you said to yourself okay, statistics say going 4th downs is play here,
all the magic numbers that you should go for it on every 4th down, don't ever punt type of deal, onside kick every time.
Well, not
that one deal,
kicks,
right? Isn't there the coach? Yeah, they do that, and they say it works, but and statistically speaking, there's some merit to it, I guess, when you look at it. But I haven't looked at it that way. I just think part of it, we've been aggressive. A lot of it gets to be situational. End of the first half. If that's 4th and 3, we're probably kicking the field goal. In that situation. We missed one during the game, probably. I don't know if that was the best decision on my part. And I don't know, even the play call with the distance that we needed, I don't know if I hit that right. But on the 4th down, a little bit on me. But I don't know. I don't mind being aggressive. I think the players like it when you have a little bit of an aggressive mindset, with what we're doing.
Yeah, Dan, how big a boost was that opening drive to Kyle's confidence? Because based on that was the most efficient, the best drive you guys have had under you against a Power 5 team so far. Opening drive.
Well, thanks. That was
Well,
good.
no, it was statistically.
Really?
Well, you hadn't scored a
See?
touchdown but one other time.
We
against
hadn't?
the Miami game.
Terrible scripting on our part
Yeah.
of plays. I don't know.
But just
it was
how big was that for him?
It
and
was
the
really
team?
good. No, I think it did. I think for him and the whole offense gave him some confidence coming off the field. So I think that helped. I don't know that if it wasn't as successful, it would have hurt him. But I think having the success certainly helped, if that makes sense. And getting into the rhythm and maybe taking some of the pressure of the first time starting off of his shoulders of going out there and making plays. But I got to do a much better job scripting then, don't I?
Does Towson seems like a very quality program, but it's 2 FCS teams in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think one's enough per season? Scott and Destin was saying that's probably a better
I
balance.
think one. You look. I don't know this. I wasn't involved in this year's schedule. I think there's a lot of things with schedule that I know. I've talked to Scott. We're trying to play more Power 5 teams. People aren't jumping up and down to play us. We're calling Power 5 teams and trying to get more games, and it's not like, hey, everybody we call can't wait to come play Florida. So that's not always an easy deal. But I know for our fans, I think it is fun to play some bigger games. You know, I mean, and in the future, I think that's something we're going to look at, trying to play more Power 5 games within the league. I think we should mix up the league schedule more, to be perfectly honest with you. You know what I mean? I mean, if you look over the next 6 years, I think we played Miami 3 times, Florida State 6 times, South Florida 3 times, Mississippi State once. So who's the SEC teams? You know, I mean, I think it's an injustice for the kids. We should mix those games up, and you should, play more teams from the West, and get the opportunity to play more SEC games to come play in this league and play in those games. Or conference games are a lot of fun playing other SEC teams. So I think moving forward, scheduling-wise, obviously conference, we don't control that, but I think that'd be a heck of a deal, and I know we're working to try to play more Power 5 teams.
What's it been like having HBO around? And do you watch HBO programming other than this show?
Huh? I do.
Are you Game of Thrones guy?
I'm a huge Game of Thrones guy. I was huge Game of Thrones. Veep. Loved Veep. Game of Thrones. We got to ask them what they got new coming out. You know, I mean, old school. I mean, Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire. I can keep going. I've watched most of the shows on HBO. So we need to ask them really, what's replacing Game of Thrones for us right now? Press conferences aren't as easy as y'all thought right now. Huh? No, I think it's been pretty cool. It's learning, you know. I mean, it's different, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how the shows play out. It's first one, so I mean, you watch the Hard Knocks and you kind of know what to expect, right? You watch some of their other ones, programming, but this will be unique to see for us be the first team. A great honor, be the first team to get to do this and see what it's all about.
Is Megan laying out your clothes for you for this?
No, not she does on Fridays and for the games and all that, but. I mean, you guys see me from week to week. I'm not really creative, you know. I mean, in what I wear, I wear a pair of shorts and I wear a quarter zip, and you know, I mean, I have like 10 different quarter zips and like 10 pairs of shorts, and that's all. I wear the same ones every week. I need what? Tips? Oh, from Heath Hutchins? Yeah, on my fashion. Yeah, he is super fashionable, so. I wouldn't look good in those. Like, I'm not a skinny jeans, skinny type clothing, European cut type of guy. That's not my deal. I have the physique, I think, probably for it, but that's just not my style. I'm no Jesse Palmer. Yes, I'll get a text later this afternoon from that one.
I'm gonna try. Emery, how did you kind of evaluate him once you watched the film?
I thought I did a really good job, you know, for him. I mean, the one thing I told him, just make sure you're with me so I'm ready to get you in there quick on certain looks and plays during the course of the game. The one thing I did, I talked to both guys before the game. I said, here's what I need. You got both guys. Make sure you're completely involved in the game and every call that's going on and everything that's happening. And then when you run on the field or run off the field, that's just your job, and pay attention to what the next play is going to be and be able to talk about different things, you know. And I thought both guys handled that really well. And I thought, you know, both guys graded champions for us. Both guys graded out. And so that was a real big positive for us moving forward.
And here's kind of a random one that's not about fashion or anything, but in the past, you've kind of said being at the smaller schools on your way up has give you a lot of time to kind of innovate away from the spotlight. Do you still feel like you can innovate and do that kind of thing at this level?
I think being a head coach in the league for 11 years helps you, you know, I mean, if I want to try something a little bit different or try to think outside the box, I mean, I might have bought myself the ability to be able to do that without being questions. You know, I was like, what is this craziness that's going on? But I think we still try to be. I think we still try to be innovative in what we do. I think, you know, from year to year, I think we've done a lot. We've grown. We've kind of built the offense, and we have a good defense. But every week we're not afraid, and from year to year we're not afraid to try different things and think outside the box. I don't think we've gone maybe wholesale like early on when we were kind of learning this offense and learning ins and outs of how we were going to create it and put the whole entire thing together. You are more creative and more, you know, test, fail. But I still think, you know, the same way you watch other people and it kind of sparks your creative idea in your head more, or you make a mistake and it sparks a creative idea for you. So, you know, that stuff hasn't disappeared for us.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned a couple times that it was a real benefit that you guys were able to kind of work on the run game. How much, I guess, could you explain the utility of being able to work on something within games versus, say, just practice?
Well, I think the games is it's just going at a different speed during the course of the games. And then, it's also the variables. You look at where we're at, and you try to simulate as best you can in practice. It's not going to be the same simulation with the speed, the quickness, the size, and the physicality within the run game at practice right now with our O-line and our going against the scout D-line. So when you look at those things, it is. And then when you have young, that's hard. And then you have young football, you have young guys on the O-line. So, as you got to make in-game adjustments. It doesn't maybe happen quite as fast as veteran guys. They're like, yep, I got you, coach. I know. Those guys will make adjustments on the field before they even get to the sidelines. The veteran guys, hey, yeah, we've seen this before. Do it this way. And, they're playing it differently than we thought, but we know how to block it against this look. A lot of the young guys, you got to get them over the sideline and be like, oh, okay, coach, I understand now. And so it's those things that take a little bit of time.
We'll wrap it up with Cassidy and then Franz. Cassidy.
There were a couple of few-round runs on Saturday.
Well, I think Kyle's getting better. I think, being a blocker, I know last year I played him a lot of receiver, more flexed out, but I think he's getting more and more comfortable being in there as the tight end in the physical blocking position. So I think that certainly helps because I know, you want the tight end position to be that mismatch, where, hey, you got this big guy that's physical and block, but then you put him out in space and he's a great athlete and it's hard to match up with. So, I think that helps a lot.
Dan, in assessing what Kyle did, how much of, he got the ball to 9 different receivers. How much of that was him looking and finding like the second receiver, et cetera, like that? And how much of it was the primary guy?
Well, I'm not sure. There's a bunch. Most of it's all take what the defense gives you, and I think one thing we've always done as a coaching staff is we have some get-it-tos. If I want to get it to somebody, we're going to find a way to get them the ball. But a lot of times we're not. We're going to, and the great thing about having depth at receiver is we're going to take what the defense gives you. If they give you the first read, take it. If they give you this, they don't give you the first, we're comfortable going to the second. We're comfortable going to the third. And it's not like, hey, we're just trying to get the ball to one receiver within, a lot of the base stuff within our offense. And it's just the quarterback's job to manage that and just take what, you can't go broke taking a profit.
So he was pretty good then at
yeah,
all
our guys are, but that's the coaching aspect of it, of what we spend so much time in the development of the quarterbacks, is to be able to understand the offense and be able to go through your progression and make reads.
Has Nike, by the way, asked you for any consultation about shoes, et cetera, like that? I know you love the shoes.
My shoe? No,
yeah.
Nike, like the Jordan sends me the stuff, and I wear what they send. They usually send me some pretty cool stuff.
So they haven't asked you for any suggestions?
Any of what my suggestions of what their next design should be? No, I think the Jordan team does a pretty good job with that. They haven't called me and said, well, you need to throw to the tight end more or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Or you should blitz on second down there, whatever it is. They haven't called to do that.
Well, you're such a shoe guy.
But I am kind of I appreciate your fashion compliments. Thank you, guys.